Act 1. Prologue. The regent haughtily sat on his throne, their gaze hanging over the wills of the people through the statues and high towers. The people, seemingly aware of this condemnation, scurried about, hunched over, to avert themselves from the sunken eyes of the statues and oppressive monoliths. Thus the city wept. You who once made me in your image through your aspirational essence. What has become of you? To the north of the city, built into the base of the mountain, was a bastion, the last whisper of nobility. It was with a muted strength it sang. There the king sat on his throne, chained by the responsibility he felt to the people. The throne room was lit with a myriad of colors, each contrasting against the marble floor. On that marble floor before the king stood an arbiter, his armored robes draped against the ground, the gold embroidery glinting against the sunlight. I demand to know the nature of this audience, the king stated. The arbiter replied, You do well to address me with more cordiality. The king slouched in resignation, the vast expanse of his kingdom nestled within the cradle of his sunken eyes and weary brows. Speak of your prophecy, the king said solemnly. The priest took a deep breath before continuing, his breath reverberating throughout the chamber. From the moment there was a spoken word, man declared war against his mother, nature, tearing down her forests, uprooting her gardens, and ripping mountains and stone from the earth, in an attempt to make her in his image. And now that he had conquered nature, his hubris declared war against his father, the spirit. All in the name of progress, a mistress who cared for no one except for the one married to her last. And many men had conjoined themselves with such a mistress. He constructed abominations to pacify himself, to reduce himself to the state of an infant with drugs like opium and hashish. And now that he had conquered his father, he set his aims upon himself. The kingdom withered in the king's eyes as he glanced at his children, deep in contemplation, melancholy shrouding whatever hope he had left in his heart. Continue, he said. The priest nodded slowly, his voice carrying through the silence. Man created cradles of stability to protect himself from his mother's whims. Through his understanding of continuity, he developed a sense of permanence in relation to his environment. This was the will of man, to maintain continuity, or rather the establishment of boundaries. This is that I am me, he is him, and that animal is different from me. Because of this, he could create structures throughout time. But man betrayed himself when he indulged in instant gratification, and this was why it was seen as the ultimate vice. Because it contradicted the very foundation upon which man realized his will to power, his dominance over nature, which was chaotic, and man could not thrive in nature. His body was weak. It is human foresight that elevates man above the animal, the priest stated. We, as a guide for shaping belief and fostering virtue, had ultimately been trying to cultivate that foresight. But you have led your people astray, and so, with a heavy heart, we, the church, demanded that you abdicate. The arbiter paused with measured silence. The throne, be gone! The king growled, gritting his teeth. Fury flickered in the cradle of his eye. All that was his world refracted through the painted glass behind him. Chapter 1. The Village's Shadow. Once upon a time, where ghouls and terrors of the depths crawled from where the belly of the earth met the long-trodden road to sovereignty, where the deepest caves and caverns reeked of the lowest circles of hell, and the fires of enlightenment licked the toes of man. The very pain he spurned drove him toward the shapeless image of his own becoming. This is the tale of one such creature, yes, creature in said time. In a quaint village tucked away in the still countryside, the indifferent Komos remembered them not in grace or even hatred, but in accounting. They were deep into the cold of winter, the otherwise bleak landscape illuminated by the echoes of joy as the torchlight from the longhouse glinted against the ivory landscape. In that village, in a cottage that danced along the river, which sat at the base of the mountain range bordering the neighboring country, a girl sat in the remembrance of a past she did not know, anguished hurl a blight that had nested itself deeply within the crevice of her mind, where dreams and nightmares danced. And reality is the mediator of the two. She sat there as she stared at the moon in quiet peace. The great beyond called to he, or she could feel it. Her mother placed her hand on her shoulder and she leaned into it. "Chiara, it's time for supper in the long house. Lucian caught the largest elk today, no thanks to your new rifle." She hugged her softly. "The villagers are dying to see the mind behind the invention." And Chiara smiled softly as she grew afraid of her own image. "Really now," she said sullenly. "I wonder how long that will last," she continued. The bell chimed as her father walked through the door of the house. Chiara's face lit up as she ran to her father. She tackled him, giggling, trying to put him in a chokehold. He managed to slip out of her grip around her hips before she knew it. He had her pinned. He ruffled her unkempt, short, curly hair. "The days grow near where you best me the chief huntsman," he said as he laughed heartily. Chiara's eyes grew wide. "You mean to say I've improved?" He chuckles. "I mean to say I'm growing old." Chiara folded her arms as she pocketed air in her cheeks. Her father pinched her nose. "Don't worry, I'm sure very few of even the boys in the village could best you." "Honey," her mum said. "Yes, Claire," her father responded, setting his lever-action rifle down, as he embraced his wife. "I must change then, off we go, to the village hall." Chiara looked down her brows, growing weary, deep in contemplation. "I'll go," she said as she caressed her black horns that peeked out from the dark of the room and fought against the white of her hair. When the family had changed, the trekked across the village in snow that did not heed shape nor figure, the cold bit against their ears and clawed at their throats with each breath. Lucian, Chiara's brother, sat in the hall bantering with his friend William. "If I had coin for every time you convinced an unassuming young lass, an unassuming young lass, I'd be a fucking beggar." William continues, "Yeah, you'd sit in your own shit, wouldn't you now?" "Well, men like you and me cut from the same cloth, aren't we now?" Lucian responds. "But I know me places with the farm girls and whores. William, what were you thinking knocking up the Lord's daughter?" William takes a sip of his ale. "I don't know, Lucian." "Never do anything when you don't know why you're doing it," Lucian spurned. "You'll often find that stupidity, incompetence is the greatest form of cruelty," he laments. As he wrapped up his lecture with William, the hall doors opened, revealing Chiara, his mom, Layla, and his father, Trevor. Chiara ran up to Lucian and hugged him tightly. She looked at his arm, then his face. "You're cut and bruised everywhere." Her pupils dilate and nostrils flare. "And you reek of blood." She looks at his stained shirt, lifting it up, revealing a horrid gash. "Lucian, what happened?" "The bloke and I were making our rounds looking for roadmen." Lucian grips his ale tighter, growing. "We came across a werewolf." The room goes silent as the word cuts through the room. "Well, I used my Bowie knife as any man." "Boy!" Chiara corrected. Lucian scrunched his nose. His face then relaxed in resignation. "Wood," he continued. Chiara hugs and clutches his head, drawing him in closer. His head rested against her chest. The air grows cold as she cried, "You might not make it through the infection. When were you going to tell us?" Lucian looks away, ashamed. "I wasn't." Tears flood out of her eyes. The wind grows so still, the candles flicker out. She holds Lucian tighter, his forehead burning against her neck. The wind picked up again and began to whisper to all the villagers in the hall. It whispered through the building, settling through the crackles in the hearth, through their coughs. Thus the walls, the wind, and the hearth spoke. "If only I knew that the bond of brotherhood is deeper than any woman who would see me as her vessel to motherhood, where the yoke of the earth meets the long-trodden road to sovereignty, where man declared I, and thus suffered forevermore from the pain of his separation from her belly. And now the woman stands before me, masquerading as that warmth my father and his father once left behind. You do not fool me. You will never be a man's better, and never have you. You have mistaken his love for you as a weakness. For that, you will suffer eternally, as your mother and her mother have. Through death, I return to the womb of consciousness, to forget my remembrance, that which the woman offered but could not fulfill. I was promised love for this hell, and now here I lie in the arms of unrequited love. As they whisper of all the brothers who lie in this field, I was only a boy, They took that from us. I am where the deepest conviction, born from seeds of righteousness, blooms. My trade is martyrs, kings, scholars, and politicians, all men of will, of any cause, of any purpose, must face me in themselves. If greatness, i.e. stature over your fellow man, is your ambition, I am your ladder and your fall. I am cruelty. I make no parlor, no bargain, no plea. I only whisper, as an answer, softly behind all ears, of those with unrequited love, married to a will. The hall was silent as their complexions had grown ghastly. A light began to emanate from under Lucian's skin. The light pulsed in tandem with Chiara's breath. The light blinded the entirety of the room. And when it faded, Chiara sat there still clutching Lucian. Lucian looks at Chiara, spooked and in awe. You healed me? Lucian frantically searched for his wound on his body and found slimy skin where it had been. The townsfolk all stood up and rushed to Lucian and Chiara as the moonlight beamed down through the windows. Across the village, perched atop the mountain, unbeknownst to them, men dressed in trench coats with rifles hung over their shoulders and weapons of the hunt, stared down at the town hall as the blinding light radiated throughout the sky. A crow sat perched atop one's shoulder. In the town hall, the townsfolk continued to dance and sing. The doors to the hall, creaking open, cut through the air, and the sight of the men with their cleavers, rifles, and greyhounds. The town elder spoke wearily with a measured cadence. What brings you here at this hour, gentlemen? The light from the gas lamps refracted in the vapor from their breaths, the snow dancing along the broad of their shoulders. One of the men stepped forward and pointed to Chiara. The church sent us to collect its property. Property? Chiara's father inquired as he held a revolver to the side of his head. The man's gaze remained impassive. Lucian, her father holds out his repeater. Yes, Pa. Lucian grabbed the rifle. Take your sister and ride till you can't ride anymore. Lucian grabbed Chiara and circled around the posse of men, rifle aimed. The men eyed Lucian. Their eyes glinted against the light, revealing crimson, lifeless irises. The man with the revolver pointed, held eye contact with the elder. Girl, you have two choices, he stated sternly. Your people or you. He continued, you have 10 seconds to decide. Does she now? Her father continued. The revolver went off. The man staggered as the bullet flew out the other side of his head. He turned to look at Chiara's father. Her mother screamed, Trevor! The man's hood, now off, left the villagers gasping. His pale skin danced with the dark of his brow, shrouded by his hair, pale blue lips, and crimson eyes that struck against the pale moonlight. He smirked, fangs sharper than a jester's wit, shone like marble in the lamplight. He lunges at Trevor. Trevor fan-fired his kneecaps out, and he fell to the ground. Trevor drew his Bowie knife, driving it into the man's sternum, but was met with mist. The man rematerialized, attempting to grab Trevor by the throat, but his knees gave out. Lights turned on throughout the town. You have 5 minutes, Trevor states as he drives the knife through the man's chest. He ignites into embers, the screams of hell echoing in his dying gasp. The men take off their hoods. We only need 4, they say, voices hard from liquor. The air grew cold, the candles went out, dread bubbles in the hearts of the people and settled as an ache, in their minds gnawing at them. One of the men blocks the exit. He pulls out a paper talisman and chants a sigil behind, glowing on his skin. He throws the talisman on the ceiling of the dining hall. Trevor tries to tackle him, but he is repelled by a field. The great beyond opens up, and something speaks with a wiry voice. What do you bargain? Fear the man, one replied. Yes, the entity said. Unspeakable horrors crawl out of the walls. The air around them bends and contorts. The children and townsfolk scream as their souls are snatched, their bodies drying up into husks. The creature offers the man the souls. The man takes them. He approaches Lucian. You wouldn't stand 10 paces next to that thing if you knew what it was. Boy. Chiara's red eyes shook, darting between the men and Lucian. I'll go, she whimpers. The man smiled callously. The man stepped closer. Lucian fired his rifle. The man flinched from the impact but remained standing. Lucian pulled out his knife, swinging. The man caught it in the bone of his forearm and grabbed Lucian by the throat. Watch, boy. The disembodied souls were held to Chiara's mouth. Her body reflexively tried to absorb them through her nostrils. "I will not be made a monster," she hissed. She fought the urge to devour them. Her will grew weaker by the second. Eventually, she bites down. Lucien's face grew pale. Snot bubbled from his nostrils. Tears came down his face. Chiara finds herself enjoying it. She bites down harder and harder until the villagers, her mum and her father, are nothing more. She wipes the goop and saliva from her mouth. Chiara looked confused. The man threw Lucien on the ground as he grabbed Chiara by the hair, but she was too shocked to respond. She reached for Lucien as she was pulled away, her eyes lifeless. Lucien stood there powerless, frozen in fear. A memory that would burn itself into the deepest trenches of his mind.
Nadszedł czas, już czas. Śni, śni, różyczko, ptak podniebny kończy lot. Odprowadzę cię w ciemną noc. Wiatr w sadzie śni, lulajże mi, kołyseczko, końca nadszedł czas.
Why? I see, bro. I tell you, bro. Like, I have this shit on fucking. Bro. I have like the foresight of a fucking god, bro. I knew she was gonna fucking pull some shit like that, bro. Make it make sense. This is how you know you're in some weird fucking infinite Tsukiyomi limbo. It's whatever. What are you like 40? What is she like? I know, but what is she like 40? I don't know. Uh, oh, ma'am, are you 40? How old are your kids? Yeah, how old are they? Oh, so you're a cat lady? It means you're sad, lonely, and like wretched. I don't know. Widowed. Widowed to hope. Does being alone be what? What do you mean? What about being alone? What do you mean? My entire squad's right here. I have thing one, thing two, and thing three. Yeah. I have thing one, thing two, and thing three, bro. One demon in the corner, one demon on the wall, and one demon on the ceiling fan. Bro, what do you mean? Who's alone, bro? Exactly. I need a lock in. What does locking in look like to you? No, okay. I don't even know, bro. This is like talking to my sister when she has psychotic breaks and ego death. She just doing random fucking movements right out of nowhere. I'm just like, what's going on, bro? I'm just existentially confused by people's like fucking retardation. At this point, that's why I'm not even like phased anymore. I can't, bro. That's what I've been trying to do, bro. I've lived 700,000 fucking years, bro, from body to body, bro. And I haven't made sense of it yet. Oh Lord. I'm not acting, bro. What are you talking about? Nah, I don't. I just don't have a dick in the afterlife, but I like pussy now. That's what I'm saying, bro. Make it make sense, bro. That's like that's the question, isn't it? That's the statement of like the fucking millennia or eon, bro. Make it make sense, bro. Uh, oh, what do you mean? Compared to who? Relative to who? You? Am I supposed to be funny like you? My astral body's pussy is drying up, bro. Make it make sense. Emmy is honest. Emmy is actually like the fucking only fucking real person. Honestly, it was all clear to me. It was all clear to me, bro. It like all became clear to me. Is the embrace the Emmy or die? That's really all there is to it.